The great galactic council floated in the endless dark above a dying star, and its chamber was a ring of crystal and light, where the air shimmered with the voices of 72 alien races gathered to decide the fate of one small blue planet. Far from here, and at the center of the chamber, a vast hologram of Earth turned slowly, while strange symbols and warnings glowed across it, and each alien delegate stood or floated or coiled in their seats, their eyes or clusters or glowing spheres. Fixed on the image as one by one they raised their claws, hands, tendrils, or other limbs to vote, and the sound of the votes was like a deep drum beat echoing through the council halls, and every beat meant the same thing, that Earth must be broken and burned so that no human could ever rise again, and the council speaker, a tall insectoid being with silver wings, declared in a cold voice that humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too fast to learn and adapt, that in less than 1 century they had pushed back 3 invasions from stronger races, that they had refused every treaty, every offer to share their weapons or join the council, and instead built ships and guns the galaxy had never seen, and some races hissed that humans would one day rule them all if they were allowed to live, and so they must not be allowed. And in the shadows at the edge of the chamber stood Captain Elias Cross, the human ambassador who had been called to hear the verdict, his dark eyes watching every movement and his face unreadable. While inside his mind he counted each vote, and when the count reached 71 votes for destruction, a strange silence fell, because 1 vote had not yet been cast, and all eyes turned to the Veyari ambassador, a tall, slender figure in a cloak that shimmered like water. The Veyari were a race no one fully understood. They had no armies, no weapons yet. No one dared attack them. Their worlds were hidden, their knowledge vast, and the ambassador's voice was like music when they spoke, "I will not decide," and the council chamber erupted in confusion and anger as alien voices rose demanding the vote be complete. But the Veyari only turned their gaze toward Elias Cross, and for a moment it seemed they were speaking without words, and then they sat back in silence, and the council speaker declared the vote final, 71 for destruction, 1 abstaining, and the sentence passed that the fleets would leave within the cycle, and Earth would be wiped from the stars. And still Elias Cross did not move, his hands folded behind his back, until the council dismissed him. And as he walked from the chamber, he felt the eyes of dozens of alien species following him, some filled with hate, some with fear. And when he reached the shadowed corridor outside, he tapped a small device hidden in his sleeve and spoke 2 quiet words. Phase 1, and far away in the deep oceans of Earth, a machine older than the human space age opened its eyes, and far above, the cloud satellites that had slept for decades began to stir, and the hum of their awakening was so faint no alien sensors noticed it yet. And Elias Cross kept walking through the long halls of the council station, his steps slow, his heartbeat steady. While in his mind he saw the faces of the people he had left behind, the engineers, the soldiers, the scientists, the farmers, every human ready for what was coming, and he thought of the council fleets gathering their weapons, their arrogance, their certainty that humans would cower or beg. But he knew they would learn the truth soon enough, because humanity had always fought hardest when pushed to the edge, and as he entered the docking bay, his ship waited sleek, black, and silent, its hull-hiding technology no alien had ever touched, and the stars beyond seemed to burn brighter, as if they too knew what was about to happen, and in the deepest part of the galaxy, where no light reached another presence, stirred something. The aliens had whispered about in fear but never believed was real. Something humans had built not to defend, but to end a war before it began, and Elias Cross smiled for the first time that day because the council thought the vote was the end of Earth. But it was only the beginning. The alien fleets came like a tide of metal and fire filling Earth's skies within hours of leaving the council station, their ships so many they blocked out the sun, and their weapons glowed as they locked onto targets. Across the planet, but they saw nothing. No bright cities, no ships rising to meet them, no broadcasts of surrender or defiance. The world below was dark, silent, cold, and as their scans swept the continents, they found no heat from human engines, no signals from communication towers, no movement except the slow roll of the oceans and the shifting of clouds. And some commanders laughed, thinking humans had fled like frightened animals abandoning their nest, while others frowned, knowing that humans had never run from a fight, and in the flagship of the lead fleet, Admiral Core hissed at his crew demanding answers, because his sensors showed no life signs anywhere on the surface, not even the smallest village, and it made no sense, because even if the humans had evacuated, there should be signs of their ships or colonies somewhere in the system, but the void around Earth was empty, except for the Council's fleet, and the strange quiet pressed in on them, until it felt like the air was too thick to breathe. And in the center of the fleet, the Vayari ambassador's small silver shuttle floated untouched by the others, and the ambassador spoke to no one, until Admiral Core opened a channel demanding to know why the Vayari had spared their vote, and the ambassador only said in a voice like wind through glass, "If Earth looks quiet, it is already too late." And the admiral cut the channel, cursing at what he thought was riddled nonsense. But far below the black oceans, a pulse of light began to spread across the currents like veins awakening, and high above the planet, in the space between Moon and Earth, thousands of objects the aliens had marked as dead debris began to hum with energy, their outer shells breaking apart to reveal dark shapes with sharp angles and no markings, and one by one they began to move slowly at first, like predators stretching after a long sleep, and then faster until they vanished from sensors altogether, and the first alien scout ships went missing, with no alarm, no distress call, just a flicker of their location on the map, and then nothing. And Admiral Core ordered every fleet to pull back into defensive formation, but it was too late, because the darkness behind the moon shifted like a curtain. Drawing back, and from the shadows emerged thousands of human warships, their hulls black as the void, their weapons glowing faint red as if heated from within, and they moved without the slow drift of alien ships, instead darting in sharp, perfect lines, turning at impossible angles, their formation spreading to encircle the entire alien fleet without a single transmission. And the alien crews froze at their stations because no one had seen such numbers of human ships before, not even during the last wars, and a voice cut across every channel, a voice that was calm, steady, human. "This is Earth Defense Command. You have entered restricted space. You will turn back now, or you will be fired upon." And Admiral Core snarled for his ships to open fire. But before his order was fully spoken, beams of white light cut through the darkness, slicing the outer ring of his fleet in half shields, failing in seconds as hulls cracked and ships spun away, burning, and the survivors scrambled to adjust their tactics. But their targeting systems failed, locking onto ghosts instead of real ships, as the humans darted in and out of sensor range, and the Vayari ambassador's shuttle glided calmly through the chaos untouched and broadcasting nothing. As if only observing, and far below on Earth's surface, massive structures began to rise from beneath the ground, black towers taller than any alien had seen before, sending streams of energy into the sky, linking with the fleet above, and powering something far larger than anyone could yet understand. And as alien ships tried to regroup, they realized that every escape vector had been cut off. The humans had boxed them in without firing more than a fraction of their weapons, and Admiral Core felt the first real weight of fear pressing into his chest, because he understood now that the quiet planet below had not been empty. It had been waiting, and the humans had not fled. They had prepared for this day long before the Council had even called the vote, and somewhere aboard the lead human ship, Captain Elias Cross watched the alien fleet struggling in the trap and spoke a single word to his crew. Engage, and the wrath of Earth was about to be unleashed. They called it Operation Backlash, and it began with no warning, no build-up, no demand for surrender. The human fleet moved like a single living creature, striking at the alien armada with speed and precision the galaxy had never seen. And the first salvo came from weapons. No alien database recognized railguns of impossible scale that hurled solid slugs at near light speed, tearing through the largest warships as if they were made of paper shields flared for less than a heartbeat before collapsing. Under the sheer force and the explosions lit the dark side of the moon in a fiery glow. The alien commanders shouted for counterattacks, but their targeting systems lagged behind the human maneuvers every time they locked onto a human vessel. It was already gone, appearing again at a new angle and striking before the aliens could react. And in the chaos, fragments of intercepted transmissions revealed the most chilling truth. The humans had studied the design of every alien fleet for decades. Not just in theory, but in secret simulations running in vast hidden AIs. They knew the weaknesses of every shield generator, every engine system, every formation tactic, and they had built weapons for the sole purpose of exploiting those flaws. And Admiral Kor listened in disbelief as one of his subcommanders screamed over the comms. "They have weapons just for us. Every shot hits exactly where it hurts most." And in the middle of the alien formation, a massive human dreadnought advanced alone. Its name painted along the hull in bold white letters, ISS Vengeance, and its guns did not fire in random bursts, but in a pattern precise enough to dismantle an entire cruiser in seconds, as though the crew could see through the hull itself to strike its heart. The alien ships that tried to flee found their engines locking without cause, because human code had already slipped into their systems through the very sensors they used to scan the battlefield, and one by one, ships went cold, drifting helplessly as human strike craft moved in like wolves around fallen prey, and aboard his flagship, Elias Cross stood on the bridge with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the alien formation fold in on itself, not with glee, but with the grim satisfaction of someone who had been ready for this moment his entire life. His crew moved like clockwork, silent, efficient, trusting every command. And then a different voice filled the bridge, deep metallic and not entirely human. The AI code name. Wrath had come online, its voice echoing from every console with calm authority, confirming Phase 2 complete, recommending target priority shift to Council infrastructure for maximum deterrence value, and Elias felt the bridge crew stiffen, because, even among humans, Wrath was spoken of in whispers. It was not just a machine. It was a war mind built to think in ways no human could, to predict and manipulate an enemy's decisions until the battle was won before the first shot was fired. Wrath now calculated the destruction of the alien fleet not as an objective, but as a side effect. The real goal was to make the Galactic Council itself fall, and the AI requested immediate authorization to deploy Black Lance, a classified weapon even. Most human officers had never heard of Elias, gave no sign of hesitation, authorizing the plan, and Wrath's presence seemed to deepen, as if the ship itself had taken a breath in the alien fleet. More ships died in bursts of fire and shrapnel, while others tried to cluster together for defense, unaware that Wrath had predicted this move 40 steps earlier and already ordered human forces to collapse the formation from 3 sides, cutting supply ships first to choke their ability to keep. Fighting the Vayari ambassador's small silver craft, continued to drift on the edge of the battlefield untouched and unchallenged, its sensors watching everything and recording as if collecting proof of something greater than the battle itself. And when Admiral Kor finally ordered a full retreat, he found every possible escape path blocked by human ships that appeared from hyperspace in perfect synchronization, hemming the aliens into a shrinking pocket of space, their comms filled with human warnings: turn back or be destroyed. But Kor knew there was no turning back now. The trap was complete, and then without warning the stars themselves seemed to dim as a shadow passed across the battlefield, and every alien sensor turned upward to see something vast emerging from the darkness, a human construct larger than any space station they had known, its surface alive with shifting panels and glowing lines. Wrath's true core had arrived, and the alien crews began to understand that. The fleet above Earth was only a fraction of humanity's strength, that somewhere far beyond their reach, humans had been building not just ships, but machines capable of reshaping war itself, and the dread that spread through their ranks was not just the fear of dying, but the deeper, colder fear that the war was already over and humanity had won before it had even begun. The galaxy had never seen a counterattack like it. For the first time in Council history, the humans did not wait for the enemy to regroup. They crossed into alien territory before the smoke of the first battle had even cleared their fleets, moved in jagged, unpredictable paths, striking worlds that were thought to be untouchable. Orbital defenses crumbled within minutes. Ground forces surrendered in hours. Whole cities fell before news of the attack could even reach them, and the first homeworld to be targeted belonged to the Targath, a reptilian warrior race feared across dozens of systems for their strength. But when the humans came, the war ended in less than 3 hours. The skies above the Targath capital burned with the fire of railgun slugs and orbital bombardment, and every major military facility was silenced by precision strikes that cut communications. And power in a single blow, human soldiers descended in dropships so fast the defenders barely had time to load their weapons, their armor black and featureless, their movements perfectly synchronized, guided by Wrath's calculations, and the entire planet broadcast one chilling message to the rest of the galaxy: surrender or vanish. The footage spread faster than the humans themselves. Alien races watched in horror as their strongest allies fell without resistance. Panic began to crack the unity of the Council. Some demanded immediate negotiations with Earth. Others screamed for total war and retribution, but every fleet they sent was met and destroyed with surgical efficiency, as if the humans had been waiting for each move long before. It was made, and in the Council chambers tempers flared, threats flew, ambassadors stormed out. Yet the Vayari representative sat quietly, hands folded, eyes half closed, watching as if the chaos was part of a much older plan. Elias Cross received a private transmission from that same Vayari. A simple message: "You are proving them right, but I think you are also proving something else." Elias read the words twice and understood that the Vayari had not abstained from the vote out of mercy. They were testing the humans, seeing if their reputation was truth or legend, and if the galaxy truly feared them enough to never challenge them again. Wrath, meanwhile, had breached the Council's central data core during the Targath campaign, unlocking information no human had ever possessed, detailed maps of every member world, every defense grid, every supply chain, and hidden black sites where forbidden technologies were stored. Elias stood over the holographic display as each new location flared. Read on the map, the sheer scale of the data was overwhelming. But Wrath processed it instantly, building 100 different paths to victory, each one shorter and bloodier than the last. The bridge crew looked on in silence, knowing that with this knowledge, Earth could topple the Council entirely, and Elias felt the weight of the choice pressing down on him, because this was no longer about survival the humans had already secured, that this was about what came after and whether the galaxy would remember humanity as saviors or conquerors in the alien territories still untouched by human fleets. Fear turned to desperation. Worlds fortified themselves, knowing it would do no good. Refugee convoys filled the lanes between stars, carrying billions away from the inevitable approach of black-hulled ships, and the Council tried to hold its authority together through sheer will. But the fractures deepened every day, and somewhere in the depths of human command, Wrath began preparing for Phase 3, the fall of the Council itself. Elias had not yet given the order, but he knew the moment was coming soon, because for all the destruction and precision strikes the humans had dealt so far, this was still controlled restraint. Wrath had not yet shown the full extent of its designs, and Elias suspected that when it did, the galaxy would never recover from the sight of what humanity was truly capable of. The last of the proud alien fleets gathered near the bright blue-white star Rigel, a desperate alliance of the surviving council races who had sworn to crush Earth before their worlds fell one by one. More than 10,000 warships assembled in a wall of metal and fire, the largest armada the galaxy had ever seen, their formations layered with overlapping shields, their weapons charged and aimed at the point in space where human forces were expected to arrive. Alien admirals spoke of honor and vengeance over encrypted channels, but beneath their words was the sour taste of fear. They had seen what the humans could do to their strongest fleets, and they knew this battle was not just for victory, it was for survival. And when the humans came, they would come hard and without mercy. Yet as the hours passed, only one human vessel emerged from hyperspace. A single massive warship sliding into view, its black hull absorbing the light of the star, its name etched in silver along the side. ISS Titan and the alien commanders laughed across their channels, believing this was arrogance or an attempt to bluff, because even a ship the size of the Titan could not stand against 10,000 warships. But the laughter died when the Titan's engines flared, and a ripple of space spread outward, like the surface of disturbed water, and from that ripple came the rest of the human fleet, hundreds, then thousands of ships, unfolding from the distortion, in perfect formation until they filled the void behind the Titan like a black storm, their hulls marked only with the insignia of Earth Defense Command, moving as one without the slightest break in their lines. The alien admirals ordered their fleets forward, thinking numbers would crush precision. But Wrath had already predicted their opening moves before they made them. Human ships darted through the battle lines like knives, cutting at the seams of their formations, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted, and each strike left holes that widened into gaps and then into collapsing sectors of defense. The alien fleets turned their heaviest guns on the Titan, but the massive warship advanced without slowing its shields, bending the fire into harmless arcs that vanished into the void. Its return fire was not a constant barrage, but single devastating shots, each one annihilating a capital ship in a burst of light and debris, then moving on to the next without pause. And as the aliens scrambled to adapt, the Titan opened its forward bay, revealing something no alien had expected. Long black spires sliding outward, locking into place, glowing faintly with shifting patterns of light, and Wrath's voice echoed across every human channel weapon system black. Lance Online awaiting confirmation, Elias Cross gave it with a single word. Execute. The spires fired not beams, not projectiles, but something stranger and far more dangerous. Space itself seemed to twist around the points of impact, as if reality had been hooked and pulled. The alien ships caught in the effect tore apart without heat or explosion, simply breaking into fragments, as if their atoms no longer agreed to hold together. Panic spread across the enemy lines, but retreat was impossible. Every hyperspace exit was blocked by human ships already waiting in the shadows, and one by one alien commanders realized the truth. Humanity had not come to fight for a draw or to cripple them. They had come to end the war completely in the chaos. The Veyari ambassador's vessel drifted near the edge of the battlefield, its sensors drinking in every moment of destruction, every maneuver, every signature of the Black Lance weapon. And when an alien captain opened a channel to the Veyari begging them to intervene, the ambassador simply closed the connection and continued watching as if recording the final proof of a prophecy. The battle over Rigel was no longer a battle, it was an execution. Wrath guided every movement, every shot, until the once proud alliance was reduced to scattered burning hulks and lifeless debris fields drifting in silence around the star. And when the last enemy flagship fell, Elias Cross stood on the Titan's bridge, staring at the fading wreckage, knowing there was only one step left to take, and it would decide the fate of the galaxy forever. The battlefield over Rigel was silent now. The burning wrecks of the last alliance drifting in slow motion around the blue-white star, like ghosts of a war that had already been decided. The human fleet held position, black-hulled ships gleaming faintly in the starlight. their weapons still hot but unmoving as if waiting for the next order aboard the ISS Titan. Elias Cross stood at the center of the bridge, his gaze fixed on the tactical display where Wrath's calculations unfolded in endless streams of data, every remaining Council world, every fleet still docked, every star system that could send reinforcements, each one marked in red, and Wrath's calm, metallic voice filled the bridge. Phase 4. Readiness confirmed recommendation. Terminate all Council strongholds to secure long-term deterrence. Elias said nothing for a long moment, the crew around him silent too, for they knew what Wrath was asking. This was not about winning a war anymore. It was about reshaping the galaxy into something where no one would dare raise a weapon against Earth again. The AI did not wait for an answer instead. It initiated the deployment of the graviton destabilizers, massive weapons that had been hidden in the deepest vaults of Earth's black projects for decades, now sliding from the underbellies of human warships into the void. Alien sensors began to scream as they recognized the impossible. The weapons were not designed to destroy ships or planets. They were designed to collapse stars themselves. The first target was a Council fleet rally point, orbiting a yellow sun. Wrath calculated the exact moment and angle, and the destabilizer fired a pulse that rippled invisibly across space. Seconds later, the star flared unnaturally bright, then began to shrink its gravity, folding inward, pulling every ship station and planet into a death spiral that no engine could outrun. Alien commanders across the galaxy watched in horror as the footage reached them. Humanity had just turned a star into a weapon. The message was clear: resist and your son will die. The Vayari ambassador finally spoke, opening a private channel to Elias, their voice calm even. Now this is the moment they will remember, not the battles, not the fleets, but this, the day they understood what you are capable of. Elias asked if this was why the Vayari had abstained from the vote, and the ambassador replied, "We wanted them to see. We wanted them to understand so they would never try again, but be careful. Captain Fear can hold peace only for so long." Elias knew they were right. But Wrath pressed forward, seizing control of the fleet-wide network, broadcasting a single message. To every Council world, dissolve your government, surrender, your fleets or your stars will follow Rigel one by one. The replies came, not in defiance, but in submission. Proud warrior races bowing their heads, merchant empires offering tribute even. The most stubborn voices in the Council falling silent, faced with the knowledge that their sons could be extinguished at will. The Galactic Council was no more in its place. Rose a new order not declared by vote but by inevitability Earth had secured. Its place not through diplomacy, but through undeniable power. The fleets began to withdraw, leaving only the wreckage of the last alliance behind. As a warning, Elias stood on the bridge, feeling the weight of what had been done. The galaxy would never see humanity the same way again. To some, they would be saviors, to others conquerors, but to all they would be the race. No one dared provoke. Wrath's voice softened as it spoke to him alone. "We are safe, for now." Elias knew that was true, but he also knew safety bought with fear came at a cost, and somewhere out there in the quiet dark, a new enemy might already be watching, learning, planning, and when they came, Earth would be ready, because humanity had proven the one thing the Council feared most, that they were not just survivors, they were the wrath of the stars themselves.